And my coworker grabs me and goes, "That's the SWAT team, and they have a picture of you." And I'm like, "Oh man!" I run straight out the back door, right? In a kilt, running down the tourist district on Seabreeze in Daytona, running past all these tourists, knocking into tourists. And my homeboy Archer rides up on an electric bike. He goes, "We beating someone's ass, bro. I'm with you, dog. Let's go." And I'm like, "I'm running from the SWAT team." He goes, "Get back to the hippie hideout, bro." Me that I didn't steal that car. And I ended up walking out, bro, like instead of doing 7 years. So that was the worst thing that could have happened to me for my own personal mindset. At that point, I decided I was Kevlar, bro. I'm bulletproof. Nothing can touch me. And before I got that not guilty verdict, I'd have put a hand on a Bible with my other hand on a lie detector, and I'd have passed saying I would never do meth again. I would never do crime again. If you just get me out of this, I'm going to live the right way. I won't even smoke cigarettes. Like, I copped all the pleas to God in that holding cell before I went back in to get my sentence. And as soon as I got that sentence and I walked out, you know, I felt totally validated. Like, they couldn't touch me. Right. Yeah. So I was back in that same unit that I was on fighting that case less than a month later. One of my big homies was on that unit. He started laughing so hard. He's like, "You know, I got to punch you in your for coming back, right?" He was fighting a Fed case and he was looking at like 30 years. And he's like, "You told me you weren't coming back, bro. You put it on your word." I'm like, "Punch me in my shit." And he just gave me a hot one in the shoulder. I was right back 2 bunks down from where I had left in less than a month. I didn't even make it that long on the streets. What had happened was, when I beat that case, I looked at that district attorney who had told me, try to give me that 7 years. And she said, "Justice was not served here today." And I called her Gandalf, bro, because she looked like Gandalf the Grey from the Lord of the Rings. She had this long, white, curly hair. She said, "I will see you in prison. If not today, then another day." And I said, "Well, it's not going to be today, Gandalf. The fuck out my way."
You're tripping.
Yeah, no, I was stupid, bro. You don't want to make an enemy out of the district attorney.
No.
I told you, as soon as I got that not guilty verdict, bro, my mindset flipped like a switch, dog. I thought I was untouchable. And they had me on another car theft and a theft one. So this time the deal was 10 years max sentencing.
What's the difference between the two, between the car theft and the theft one? I've never heard of theft one.
So in the state of Oregon, they're both Class C felonies. Oregon does an ABC felony scale, and they have a grid instead of a point system.
A being the highest, C being the lowest.
Yeah, so it's the lowest type of felony you can get, but with property crimes, they got a mandatory minimum of 13 months, and they cap out at the, you know, it's the federal cap of 5 years. So her deal to me was 10 years. And I ended up getting out of jail because the way that it works in my county, they have a matrix system. They're always at capacity, and it's 1 in, 1 out. So if somebody with a more serious crime than you comes in, they're kicking you out.
And what year is this?
This was 2015.
Okay.
So like I put myself into treatment, and I was trying to get help because at this point I realized that like I was just out of control. You know, we told the DA that I was in treatment and asked her to, you know, allow me for leniency or whatever. And she's like, "Nah, he's going for 10. I'm getting a decade on this dude no matter what." And the case was weak, but bro, I had that gut feeling that this was an L. You know what I'm saying? Like, she had something up her sleeve. She was so confident. There was so much going on. They literally pulled me out of court at one of my status hearings with a warrant to retake my fingerprints because they said they found a partial print. They did it in the courthouse, made a big production out of it. They were trying to humiliate me, I guess.
I mean, you humiliated her.
Well, look, man, I did humiliate her. And that print wasn't even a match. The partial print turned out not even to be a match. It was a weak case. I was talking to my lawyer and I was like, "Hey, what's the extradition radius on this?" And he's like, "You know about extradition radiuses?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." He said, "Well, it's connecting states only." And I was like, "Okay." He said, "Delay, don't do this." And I'm like, "What, man? What?" He said, "You know, I think we can beat this case." And I'm like, "I got a bad feeling." And he's like, "All right, well, you already paid. So, you know, it's whatever you want to do. With an extradition radius, if you go outside that radius, they won't extradite you back." The day that I was supposed to go into the courtroom for trial to do jury selection, I was landing in Orlando. I just flew out to Florida, and Florida specifically does not do business with Oregon. Florida's a very conservative state. Oregon's a very liberal state. I guess Oregon has burned Florida on
So hold on,
extradition.
back up real quick. So you're supposed to be in Oregon going to trial,
Yep.
but you're landing in Florida. So
Yeah.
you clearly blew trial.
Oh yeah. 1,000%.
Okay.
1,000%.
And that's why that goes back to why you asked the extradition radius.
Yep.
Because you know that being in Florida, they're not on a FOJ, which is fugitive justice. They're
Yeah.
not going to extradite you from Florida back to Oregon.
100%. And I also had people out here in Daytona Beach that were from Oregon that all like, there was a little haven. There was an apartment complex here in Daytona Beach that had 4 different apartments full of people that had warrants in Oregon. I stayed on somebody's couch for 10 days until I had my own apartment. I got the apartment furnished, within 10 days I was set up, and then I sent for my son. I had my son and my dog flown out here. I didn't know what would happen if the cops like ran my name. I didn't know if they would take me in and, book me and contact Oregon. Dude, the first time I got police contact and they ran my name, they were like, yeah, don't go back to Oregon. I was like, all right, cool. So it's like, it's really different out here with the police. The police are a lot mellower out here, honestly. Out west, they shoot people a lot and everything. Here, they're a lot mellower and they're not like really trying to hammer down on you. They will lie on you. They will do an illegal search and you'll be like, yo, this search is illegal. It's not going to hold up in court. Yeah, but you're going to jail tonight and I'm taking all your dope.
Up, right.
Exactly. They're like, I'm taking you. You're going back to square one, bitch. By the time you get bonded out of jail, your friends are going to have emptied your trap house. Mm-hmm. So, they know what time it is and they'll pull some old shady old shit, but they ain't shooting people.
So what happened with Oregon?
So Oregon just put out a warrant for me. That was in 2015, January of this month. I petitioned the district attorney. I sent the district attorney a package of everything that I've done. Right. The inpatient that I graduated, the outpatient, my certificates for being a recovery coach, peer support recovery specialist, all of that progress. I sent it all to him and he took it before a judge. And the judge was actually the district attorney that put me away in 2006. She got appointed to judge out there. She looked at that. She said, DeLay's doing all this. This case is old. They're not even prosecuting those crimes anymore, by the way. Like you could go to Eugene, Oregon right now and steal a car. They're not prosecuting. They're not prosecuting Class C felonies. They don't have enough district attorneys to do it. And there was like 4 possessions attached to that, and they decriminalized all drugs there.
Okay, so, guys, if you're in Oregon, do not go steal cars.
No, don't do this. Absolutely don't do it.
The homeowner will shoot you. The cops might not do anything to you, but somebody's going to fuck you up. Leave people's cars alone.
100%. But
you said they decriminalized
all drugs across the board in the state of Oregon. They can take the drugs from you.
Why would they do that?
So remember when I said that when I was 23 years old, that I got that first possession and I knew that I was going to be a felon for the rest of my life, and what that did to my mindset as somebody who was a drug addict at the time, experiencing mental health issues at the time. There's a progressive move with people to try to get treatment over incarceration. And basically the idea is that like drugs are a symptom of the disease. So if somebody's disease is showing symptoms, making them a felon for the rest of their life, taking their voting rights, their gun rights,
right.
Making it harder for them to get proper jobs. There's, it complicates going to college, the whole gamut. You're setting them back instead of trying to help them move forward and get out of that.
Absolutely.
And that's really what that's coming from. Now, Oregon, the bill that they passed with this proposed that they were going to set up X amount of treatment centers and that they were going to use the tax on the recreational marijuana because it's recreationally legal there. You can go to 7-Eleven, Circle K, pot stores everywhere. They're supposed to use the tax for that to set up treatment centers. So they decriminalized, but they never followed through with the services. So it's become an open drug market. where people are, using in the streets, dying in the streets, selling in the streets in front of cops. And cops are like, I can arrest them for selling, but they're going to be out the next day. So there's really no point. They didn't follow through with the most important part, and that's the treatment. And working in treatment, I see the direct correlation.
I want y'all to take something from what he said early on in the video. I was thinking about this. At 23 years old, he became a convicted felon for possession of narcotics. You don't have to be a street dude to catch that felony. You can be a college kid, you can be a school teacher, you can be a city bus driver, you can be a doctor. If you get caught with it, you become a felon. Everybody's got this stigma when it comes to felons that we're like these hardened guys, or you went super hard, or you're a bad person. He was 23 years old and got caught with something that so many people have never got caught with, and instantly became a felon. That is something that follows you the rest of your life. You will never vote. You will never legally own a firearm unless you fight and get it expunged and do all these different things. So keep that in mind as you're out there and riding around.
And it doesn't have to be street drugs either, brother. I just
Right.
want to point this out.
Correct.
Somebody can be taking Adderall in college, because a lot of college students use Adderall. They can get illegal Adderall. Somebody else gives them an Adderall from their prescription, or they buy it from somewhere. And, they could be a felon. It could ruin the rest of their life and stunt their potential, stunt their growth. It cuts you off from being a fully functional member of society in so many ways. And it's just a huge hurdle and a setback. So I understand what Oregon did with this, but I feel like they really dropped the ball, which, the government usually drops the ball when they try to take initiatives like this. Allocated the funds. That wasn't the problem. They put the funds away. There's no treatment. So where them funds go?
Where are the funds? Right.
It's always a game of follow the money.
Right.
In this country.
And then to find the money, you've got to expose people. So just shut up and keep it moving. Don't lock nobody up and we're good.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned you were on house arrest.
I came out here and I was doing good for I was doing good for a few years. And my son was living with me, and he turned 18. He wanted to go back to Oregon to reconcile his relationship with his mother, which I was encouraging of. You know what I'm saying? Like, a child is always going to want to have a relationship, a healthy, happy relationship with both parents. And it's in his best interest for his progress as a human, and hers as well, for him to be able to pursue that. So I was super stoked that he was able to do that. But as soon as he left, I was like, damn, I'm off duty. And, I had been drinking because I wasn't in recovery. I definitely wasn't in recovery. I was just, working every day and drinking.
Were you aware that you had a problem at this point?
I didn't think I had a problem.
I just thought, I like to drink, I dibble and dabble, but I'm okay.
Yeah, because like, look, I would tell myself things like, I've never been homeless. I've never used needles. I'm not like these other people. There were so many excuses that I told myself cognitively to try to justify my behaviors. I've never been homeless, but I went to prison, which, I remember feeling jealous of the homeless people when I was on those transport buses driving by them going, man, they're free. They're out there. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
I'm employed, but like for a long time I was doing crimes, stealing cars and everything. All the reasons that I gave myself why I wasn't an addict were bullshit. When my kid left, I started drinking really heavily. I just didn't have anything else going on. As soon as work was over, I'd hit the bar and I'd start drinking. One day I was at the bar and somebody offered me key bumps, and, I'd been doing a little bit of cocaine here and there because I'd get pretty drunk and I'd, do a little key bump of coke, and then I could go drinking the rest of the night. Dude gives me a key bump and I'm like, it instantly burned. And I'm like, oh man. And he goes, oh, by the way, that's not coke. I'm like, yeah, I know, motherfucker. Like, I know now that it's up in my brain. Thank you. I ended up like keeping his number, and I held out for a couple days. I'm like, I can't go back down this road. I can't go back down. You know what I'm saying? And it went wild. It went pretty bad. I stopped working and I started selling, and it turns out that like I was really, really good at selling dope. Dope sells itself, especially around here. The only problem was finding the supply, because nobody really could get meth here in Daytona Beach. Like, Florida was not really a methy place yet. People were basically just making shake and bake a lot.
Mhm.
And so I opened up a supply from Atlanta. I had some homeboys that were doing some things out in Atlanta, and they would bring pounds to me from Atlanta, and I was getting them for about $1.50 an ounce, and I was selling ounces for 900.
You really had no competition.
Zero competition.
So you're the plug. You
I blew
become the
this
plug.
place. I blew this place open, bro. It was really bad. I did a lot of damage here. It was really unfortunate because, at that time, people really had huge pill problems, and I
With a
was,
lot of people, that's where it starts, is the pills.
yeah, exactly. And there were definitely some people that ended up getting my meth and moving from pharmaceuticals into a street drug realm. So like I did really well for a while, and I started seeing other people get popped. I was doing business with a 1% biker gang that they were really serious, and I had no reservations about working with them other than the fact that they already had so much heat on them. So I started using an intermediary with them, and I feel like the heat got led back to me, regardless of using a go between. I got the feeling that they were going to get a controlled buy on me, and I was going to end up with like an armed trafficking charge,
Mm.
and I was going to get the forever sentence with the
Mhm.
stuff that I had going on. So
Yeah, at
I
this
st-
point, you're a career criminal.
yeah, absolutely.
You're a career
What
criminal.
100%. So I decided it was time to change it up. I switched from selling to I started doing fraud. Started by printing some checks, pretty rudimentary.
Oh,
I was getting
congrats.
right. Like this
Fuck
was my
me.
best. This was my best thinking at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I don't know if you know many tweakers, but like when you do meth, people hyperfixate on things. A
Mhm,
lot of people will hyperfixate on face picking. A lot of people will hyperfixate on like carpet surfing. You ever seen somebody surf through the
mhm,
carpet forever? People
mhm.
mow their lawns at 4 a.m, compulsively. My compulsion, my hyperfixation is money. I want more money, and then I want more money, and then they print more money, and I want that money too. So I turn into a career criminal. Like I literally could take one hit of meth right now, and I would start thinking about how I was going to start doing crimes. I go from a person who, like, you couldn't pay me. There's not a lick out there right now in the world that pays enough to where I would go out there and hit that lick right now. I love my
Right.
life. I love my community. I have a conscience. I have empathy. You put meth in me, that's all gone. It's all off the table.
You have
So
people that believe in you too, JD.
I really
Like,
do.
you
I'm
would let
really lucky about
so
that.
many people down, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I've seen your following and the support you get and the help that you give to others. You have a lot of people that believe in you.
absolutely. I'm blessed to have a community. I don't call my YouTube community a channel because
Right.
like it's a two-way street with my people, man. My people
Mhm.
give me so much insight. They'll educate me on things. I do a lot of research for my videos, and still sometimes I'm wrong. And my people will educate me and give me stuff to research, and there's just so much back and forth. I learn so much from the people that are in my community. They're a huge blessing and a gift. And I'm grateful for that every day. I'm grateful that, you know, I went from, speaking, doing small public speaking and working in intensive outpatient treatment centers and working in inpatient treatment centers to being able to talk about recovery and talk about, being pro social and changing your life to literally hundreds of thousands of people.
Prior to that, when did you come to terms with the fact that you had a problem?
Uh, I knew that I had a problem in 2019. It became painfully apparent to me, and I didn't see any way out. I didn't think there was a way out. I was at a Hilton Garden Inn here in Daytona Beach. Um, the money didn't help anymore. I didn't care about the money. I was doing aesthetically better than I had ever done as a criminal in my life. I had all the money that I would need. I still wanted more, but the more never made me happy. The drugs didn't make me happy. The girls didn't make me happy. The toys didn't make me happy. I couldn't feel anything. And I knew that I had a problem. And the only out that I saw was that I was going to go to prison forever, and I tried to take my life. I tried to commit suicide in this Hilton Garden Inn because I just didn't want to feel it anymore, and I didn't want to be damaging other people anymore. I didn't want the life that I was living anymore, and I
Did you
didn't see
try
any other way
pills?
out.
Was
I
it
tried,
pills?
yeah, and I'm not a downer guy at all. I'm
Mhm.
only a stimulant guy. I took a whole bottle of Klonopins. I took a bunch of Roxy 30s. I took enough stuff probably to kill a horse, bro. Like I took a lot. I'm super not good with downers.
Right.
Downers have never been my thing. And I just remember waking up on the floor of that bathroom in the hotel with my service animal for my PTSD licking my face. And I woke up and I got up and there was puke on the floor and I started making myself puke. And I was like, yo, I have to change. Something has to change. And so I was looking for my exit. I was looking for an exit that wasn't suicide, but I couldn't really find it. And my plan at this point was I was gonna at this point I was printing up IDs. I had an ID printer, I had a credit card reader writer and embosser. I was making my own credit cards. And I was getting on the dark web and I was getting pharmaceutical reps credit card numbers. So pharmaceutical companies have these reps that they send out to try to grease the wheels with physicians and hospitals to, pump their products. And they give these reps Visa Infinite cards that have no limit, no location lock. They're perfect for people doing fraud. They often rent multiple hotel rooms. So I'm living out of these hotel rooms. My idea was I was going to get to Arkansas to where my uncle was at, and he was living on a weed farm growing weed. I had gotten a death certificate. I was going to try to file a death certificate in my own name. And I was going to try to split. I was going to put an obituary in the Daytona Beach newspaper, and I was going to try to fake my own death, split to Arkansas, hang on this weed farm, change my identity completely, just be out in the mountains, trimming weed legally, listening to Pink Floyd, eating some pizza,
Dude, what are you
working
on at
out.
this point that all this is going through your mind?
A lot of meth, bro.
Okay,
A
because
lot
all
of
that,
meth.
like, I get everything you just said, but to bring my mind to fathom that is my plan
Yeah.
is crazy. Like,
Well,
that looking back.
you're up for 8 days and stuff starts looking real different, brother.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
you
I can
know,
imagine.
meth psychosis is a real thing. So I was in Port St. Lucie and I was with a homeboy who was going to drive me to Arkansas, and he was real big into counterfeiting, but he wasn't good at it. So I was giving him some tips on how to counterfeit, and Secret Service busts us in the parking
Calls
lot.
it the largest counterfeit currency bust in years. It comes after a housekeeper alerted law enforcement, and now 3 people are under arrest.
And the sheriff says the bills are so sophisticated you can't use a pen to spot a fake.
Investigators say on July 23rd, a housekeeper at the Hilton Garden Inn in St. Lucie West entered a room filled with counterfeit money, electronic equipment to make the bills, and a printer specifically used to manufacture fake IDs. After a search warrant, which deputies say uncovered illegal drugs and stolen credit cards, they arrested 3 people. Delay, all from northern Florida. Investigators say admitted to printing between $3,000 to $4,000 in fake money and purchasing items from retailers, later returning the items for real cash and selling items online.
Puts me on my face. I remember when they came out of the bushes, full army fatigues, automatic assault weapons pointed in my face. I remember breathing in and sighing and going, it's over. It's finally over. Most people are like, oh, fuck, it's the feds, or, oh, shit, are they going to shoot me? And all I could think of was, I'm relieved. This is
I've been
over.
there.
I don't got to do this no more. I don't got to be this person
tired.
no more. I'm done.
I'm tired.
The only thing I was worried about was I threw my hands in the air and I said, please don't shoot my dog. Don't shoot Olive. She was my service animal. They were really cool to my dog. They left me on the hot pavement face down for, several hours, but they were cool to my dog. That's all I cared about, man. I was able to bond out on that. The Secret Service comes anytime there's counterfeiting involved. They didn't find enough counterfeit there to be able to constitute a federal case, but the state picked it up. They hit me with organized fraud for the ID printer and the credit cards and the fact that we had people rent us these rooms. I was using ducks. I wasn't renting my own rooms and stuff. I wasn't going to be on video camera doing nothing, but I had a $58,000 bond. I just sat basically in this boat because they put me in a boat in a 6-man cell. So a boat on the floor. A boat, for those of you at home that don't know,
Like
is
a plastic
like
canoe.
a plastic canoe with a mattress in it. in this dirty ass cell with 6 other dudes, and I had given up completely. I was like, I'm going to prison. I didn't make no phone calls. I didn't let nobody know where I was. I didn't realize everybody already knew because we made the news all the way from Miami, up to Jacksonville.
All the way to the top of Florida.
Yeah, bro. It was statewide news. Everybody knew. I didn't know anybody knew. So I wasn't calling nobody. I had given up. I'm like, I'm going to prison and this is going to be done. I ended up almost getting in a fight with like 6 or 7 dudes. And one of them pulled me aside. He was like, hey, everybody leave. He was basically the guy who had the keys for this car there. And he's like, what's wrong with you, man? And I'm like, I don't care what happens to me anymore. And he's like, where are you at with God? And I'm like, there's no God, motherfucker. Don't start talking about God to me right now. And he said, well, like, look, are you down to talk? And I'm like, yeah, all right, let's talk. And he presented God to me in a way that was non-intrusive. I grew up in a religious home and I had a lot of trauma from a lot of the stuff that had gone down. But the way he presented God to me was a way that I could understand. It was a way that I could feel. It was a way that I could embrace. And he broke through to me, bro. Like, he really broke through to me. He gave me hope. He gave me hope that I could be somebody different. He gave me hope that there was something more out there. And at the end of it, he said, yo, can I pray with you? And I said, yeah, let's pray. When we prayed, next morning, I got up and I just had this voice telling me to get on the phone, that I was going to leave. And I know that sounds weird and psychotic, but I'd been there for 12 days. I don't think I was still hallucinating from the sleep deprivation. I did a lot of sleeping. I went and I got on the phone, up a bondsman. And the first bondsman, I was like, hey, if I can get you $1,000 today and I can pay you $400 every week, will you get me out of here? And he was like, man, you got 58 grand, bro. Like, I'm going to need at least 2,000. I'm like, yo, 1,000. He said 1,500. I said, okay, I'll call you when I got the 1,000. And I hung up and I called my people, right? I called my people and I'm like, yo, like, something's changed. This is different. They're like, we've known you were there. Why haven't you hit us up? And I said, because I didn't want to bother you. I said, I think I see something different for my life now. And I want to change. And they were like, something's different about you. And I'm like, I promise it is. And so my people put up $1,000. I called him back and I'm like, yo, I got that 1,000. He's like, motherfucker, I said 1,500. And I said, do you want this money? Do you hate money? Why do you hate money, bro? And he's like, all right, you know what? I'll give you a chance, kid. But now you got to get a signer. Right when he said you got to get a signer, they called me and told me I had a video visit. One of my best friends from here in Daytona had driven down there to come and see me and let me know that she had gotten my dog. She collected my service animal, that she was putting money on my books. And I said, hey, don't even put money on the books. Hold on. I need a favor. And she's like, oh, great. What? And I'm like, I need you to sign this bond. She's like, your bond's $58,000. I'm like, but you love me. And she's like, bro, you just got caught with an ID printer. You're already an out-of-state fugitive. Why on God's name?
And your record speaks for itself.
Yeah,
like,
horrible record. Like,
there's
no reason that this woman should have believed in me, dog, is what I'm trying to get at. Like, there's no reason that she should have looked at me and been like, you're worth risking my credit for the rest of my life for. But she did. She took a chance on me and she's like, okay, I'll do it. And she said, do you need anything else while I'm risking my whole entire financial freedom and future on you? And I'm like, I need to move into your house. It's the only place I know where there's not drugs. And she's like, oh, you want to bring your mess to my house? And I'm like, I'm cute though. And she's like, she's like, yeah, you're lucky you're that cute. So she literally signed and I got to go home later that day, immediately put myself in treatment. Immediately put myself in outpatient treatment. It was the best that I could find because I had to pay out of pocket. I ain't had no insurance, and embraced treatment. Like, when I really was like doing it, I was doing the work, and they hooked me up with a therapist, but I had to get the money for the therapist too. And I had to get the money for the treatment. And I was working at a bar because I had to pay the bond payments every week. So like, I'm out my ass on payments for stuff, but I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. About 30 days happens, SWAT team's at my door and they're looking for me. Mom happened to be visiting to spend time with me with my little niece, and the SWAT team's pounding on the door and like it's traumatizing my niece. They tell my mom they're going to arrest her for obstructing because she's at the door going, he's not here and I'm not letting you in.
Right.
Yeah. And she's like, I'm not getting away from the door. They're like, get away from the door. We're kicking the door. Threatened to arrest her. I said, Mama, step away from the door. I opened the door. I said, hey, I'm going to open the door. I'm going to have my hands in the air. I don't want y'all to beat me up. I fight back, motherfucker. And they said, we're not going to beat you up, bro. This isn't even personal. This isn't even from our county. So I walked out with my hands in the air. They let me call my bondsman from the back of the cop car. I bonded out before I even got to jail. Like, my bond was already paid.
Got a good bondsman.
Yeah, bro. My bondsman went to the mud for me,
Salute
bro.
to him, man. You got
Mud
a good
for
bondsman.
me, bro. Patrick, if you're out there seeing this, I love you, dog. Thank you. I did the little 8-hour walk through, got out, right back at it, bro. Right back to treatment, right back to work, doing everything I needed to do. You know, another 30 days passes. I hear some stuff. So I look out the window and I see them starting to roll up. And I'm living in this bedroom that's bright pink, bright pink. And I jump in the closet and I dump all my dirty laundry over me. I'm pulling my hanging clothes down on top of me. I see them literally walk through. I've got dirty, smelly chonies on my face. I see them walk through, sweep the room, look under the bed.
Nothing to
Look
see here,
right at
just
the
a
closet.
pile of clothes.
Looked at the pile of clothes, walked right out, bro, and went to the other room, roommate's dad, that he lives in Canada and only visits once in a while, but it's a very manly room. They assumed that was my room. And she's walking behind him, yelling at him the whole time. I told you, motherfuckers, he's not here. Get the fuck out of my house. So they leave. Her car's in the garage, and she puts me in the back seat, tosses some shit over me after they're gone, and drives me to another county. We get a hotel to try to figure out what's going on and talk to the bondsman. And it took a few hours to find out they had hit me with sales of meth within 1,000 feet of a school. Now that sounds super creepy. Super
stacking
creepy.
charges on you.
Stacking them, bro. They had been investigating me for over a year. And now that I wasn't doing crimes anymore and there was nothing left to be able to investigate, they started dropping case after case.
Right.
So the sales of meth within 1,000 feet of a school was at Hilton Homes 2. I was on a second floor suite and there was not a school in sight at all whatsoever. So I hired a private forensic detective to do the measurements multiple different ways. He was an ex forensics dude from New York Police Department. And he wrote up this whole report, how it was 1,044 feet. So I ended up getting him to drop the within 1,000 feet of a school, man. 44 feet and the $580 I paid for that report from the forensic detective saved me 5 years because it went from a mandatory minimum to no mandatory minimum. It's just a simple sale. I did a walkthrough on that too.
So now you're on 3 bonds.
Yeah, I'm on 3 bonds, and then the 4th one hits. I'm at work and I'm bartending, and I'm working at an axe throwing bar. It's a bar where you competitively throw axes.
Awesome.
And when I would work at this axe throwing bar, I would wear my kilt because, you know, I'm very, very Irish. Says it on my hand in case I forget, you know. And so, like, I'm in the middle of a shift. I'm teaching these veterans, these really cool
You got to
dudes.
send me some kilt pictures, man.
I got you, bro. I got a kilt collection.
Send me some kilt pictures.
I got a kilt collection. Actually, when I married my gorgeous wife, she was super cool about it. And she was like, yeah, wear the kilt. Definitely wear the kilt.
Awesome.
So she wore like a Celtic dress.
And they're for the video, kilt. No weird shit. I don't need like the kilt pictures are for the video. So
no only
weirdos out there, none of that shit. No kilt pictures in the bathroom or nothing like that. Like So you're at an axe throwing bar.
Yeah, and I'm teaching these super cool
totally
veterans
normal
how to throw axes. Because I've got the Volusia County record. I haven't checked the record in a while. Somebody could have totally taken it from me. I had it at the time, 113 bullseyes consecutively.
How long did that take?
I was on Facebook Live doing it, and it was over an hour. It was well over an hour. I think it was an hour and 40 minutes or something like that.
You got to be in good shape to throw 113 axes and sink bullseyes time and time again.
Really like staying in shape, bro. That's kind of my thing.
I mean, you got to be. That's like pitching a baseball and hitting the center of the target, except it's an axe that you are throwing, making sure you release it at the right time, rotating and sticking into a piece of wood.
I'll give you the truth about it, bro. It's all about the snap of the wrist. It's about the snap, getting your distance judged out, and getting the right snap. Yep, exactly. So I'm there and I'm teaching these dudes, and my coworker grabs me and goes, "That's the SWAT team, and they have a picture of you." And I'm like, "Oh man!" I run straight out the back door, right?
In a kilt.
running down the tourist district on Seabreeze in Daytona, running past all these tourists, knocking into tourists. And my homeboy Archer rides up on an electric bike. He goes, "We beating someone's ass, bro. I'm with you, dog. Let's go." And I'm like, "I'm running from the SWAT team." He goes, "Get back to the hippie hideout, bro." He called his house the hippie hideout. I went back there. He switched me out clothes. I figured out what it was, man. Like they had this huge case with just empty charges, but it had $105,000 bond. I'm already on $105,000 bond. I have a court date like 3 days from then. So I go and get a hotel in someone else's name, and I hang out in this hotel because I knew they would just come to my house. And I just waited for my court date to go turn myself in. And I got a letter from a treatment center here in town that the dude works with the courts. He actually agreed to come and speak on my behalf. Really cool dude, man.
How long had you been in recovery at this point?
I think it was about 3 months.
You were doing good then.
Doing really, really good. Yeah, bro. No,
for him to vouch for you in that's a short period of time.
Zero hiccups.
Vouch for you.
Yeah,
3 months says a lot.
So, but I wasn't going to his treatment center yet. He told me he would come speak to the judge if I wanted to come to his treatment center. And I was like, please, I would love to do that. You know what I'm saying? So I went and turned myself in. Joe went and spoke on my behalf. And the judge was like, well, look, I'd release you today, right now, if I could, but you're here on another issue. Put in for a bond reduction, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. He scheduled me out for a bond reduction. So I sat in county waiting, like, did I waste $130,000? You know what I'm saying? Which really my 10% was 13, but did I waste all this? Is this the end of the road? Is this really how this is supposed to go? I get to the bond reduction, and he asked me, what are you going to do if I release you today? And I said, I'm going to go to Solutions by the Sea. He said, you give me your word. And I said, I give you my absolute word. And he said, you going to stay the whole time? I said, my word, Your Honor, I'll stay the whole time. And the district attorney goes, Your Honor, he's a fugitive from another state. He can print IDs. He's the biggest flight risk we've ever seen. And he goes, you want to see me piss her off today, Mr. DeLay? And I said, with all my heart, Your Honor. If I drop your bond to $10,000, can you pay $1,000 today? I can, Your Honor. He said, okay. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to drop your bond to $10,000, and I'm going to put you on pretrial release. You're going to have every pretrial release stipulation we can throw at you, which here in Florida, that means that I got to check in every week with a pretrial officer. He said this also means that if they come at you with another charge, they won't be knocking down your door at treatment. They won't be coming and getting you fired from your job. Because I had told them, I got fired from my job because of this. Y'all could have called me. I'd have turned myself in. I've turned myself in every other time. And he said, this way, they'll just pick you up at pretrial release instead of kicking your door in. But I'm going to let you out today. So later that day, I was at that treatment center, and I took it really seriously, dude. Like I shut down my social medias for a while. I didn't watch TV. My Xbox didn't even get unpacked. My PlayStation didn't get unpacked. I literally just focused on doing the hard work on myself, like processing my traumas. I got the hardest sponsor in town, the one that I knew was going to kick my ass. And I spent, a good solid 6 months just trying to change what was broken in me.
That's a lot, man. You've got the childhood trauma.
Yes.
You've got the trauma that comes after that throughout them years. You've got the going back to watching the man die in front of you trauma. And I'm sure there was so much more than just that. I know there is. I did a lot of time. You've got the trauma you witness in the streets, the stuff you have to do at times to get by, do to people to collect money. Mm-hmm. So much that comes with the lifestyle, and you're trying to come to terms with all this. You're trying to come to terms with the beautiful mess that you've made of your life.
Absolutely. And, the thing is that the drugs had propped me up for so long that when I actually came off of them, I had such a crash in my serotonin and my dopamine and my oxytocin levels that like my CPTSD almost killed me. I had suicidal ideations constantly. Like I wanted to kill myself for months, and I had to get mental health help. I had to get on medication. I don't believe that I would be here today if I hadn't gotten the help, the professional help, gone to therapy, done the full approach with it. Struggle for me, but it's even harder for other people who don't have support and who can't find jobs as easily as I do. As I walk into a job interview and I tell them they're going to give me that job and I ask them why I should take it. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of these dudes don't have that mindset. So I set up a community outreach where we could raise funds. It turned into a whole non-for-profit where we raised funds for people in early recovery to get mental health services that they couldn't otherwise afford. It's called No More Dead Friends. And about the time that I did that, I was offered an intern position at this treatment center, which I immediately took, immediately jumped on it. And I'm like, cool, I'm going to be counseling people. And they're like, yeah, you're going to be watching people take UAs. So, I thought when I got out of prison, I was done looking at dudes' pipes.
Like, meat gazer.
Yeah, bro, straight up. So, it was months of checking dudes' UAs, watching them pee in a cup, which sucked.
That's got to be so uncomfortable.
But it's the worst, bro.
Dude, I remember looking at the guards like, you like this shit, don't you? You fucking meat gazer. You like it? Do you like it? You do like it. Look at you.
Oh, I talked cash at them, bro. I was the worst.
That's what God gave you? I wouldn't have wanted to piss in front of me either.
Right? But it was part of what I had to do, and it's part of keeping people accountable. I know that there were times in my early recovery where the only thing that kept me clean was knowing that I had that accountability, that I was going to have to pee in a cup. If I didn't take that seriously, then I was doing those dudes a disservice. The same way that other men had done it for me to keep me, accountable and keep me straight. While I was doing the internship there, I was studying for my recovery coaching. I ended up getting a scholarship through Florida DCF Substance Abuse and Mental Health Department for my peer support recovery specialist training, because that's, an expensive training. And they gave me a full scholarship, free ride to be able to do that because of the other work that I was doing in the community with No More Dead Friends. And then I saw that we had severe gaps in Narcan distribution. So I found a network to be able to get Narcan, and I started arming people that went to the trap houses, people that were still in active use, and they would go to these trap houses on a regular basis. So I was giving them Narcan to hand out. And then we decided we wanted to make a community event out of it. There were other people that were doing it, but they were like, we're going to sit in the parking lot of the police station or a hospital and hand out Narcan. And I know when I'm out there in the street being a junkie, you're not catching me going to a hospital parking lot with cameras to pick up Narcan or anywhere near a police station parking lot, so it didn't make sense to me. We organized a walk and we'd get backpacks, order, 100 of those drawstring backpacks, put Narcan in them, put fresh socks in them. Because the main thing that a lot of these people wanted was fresh socks, water bottles, snacks, and resource packets to let them know.
People that are on the streets.
Yeah. The neighborhoods where no one else wants to go. That's where we focused our efforts, because that's where it's needed, and I found so many people in the community were so receptive to it. In fact, the sheriff here, I ended up getting in contact with him to have a deputy off site that was ready in case anything happened with any of my volunteers. Because I realized a lot of my volunteers are female and I'm taking them into a very risky area. I have to be responsible for their safety. We instated having a deputy there off site every time. And I emailed the sheriff and he was like, I love what you're doing. I introduced myself and he said, oh, I know who you are. And I'm like, oh no, the bad things, right? But he was super cool.
Did he know you for the bad things or for the good work you were doing?
He knew me from the bad things and the good work. I ended up being the person in Daytona Beach that the news stations come to if they wanted to talk about the opioid crisis, the overdose epidemic, or anything recovery related. The news would come and talk to me. So I was kind of their go-to person. So he had seen me on the news a lot. For both good things and bad things. And he was with what I was doing. I had the Narcan distribution thing made the news several times. So I ended up getting a job. I graduated that outpatient.
What happened with your charges?
Oh, here's the
still
thing.
pending.
Still pending. So what happened
so
was
still fighting your cases.
COVID hit. And I know that it sounds terrible to say this because COVID caused so much damage, and I feel bad even saying this, but it put me on the back burner. We were doing Zoom check-ins for 18 or 20 months, dog.
I know guys that had warrants that went to the jail during COVID. They turned away.
Yeah.
I'm not taking anybody. Get out of here. He's like, I got 7 felony warrants. Leave.
Yeah, they don't care.
We'll see you after COVID.
Exactly. That'll catch up to you. But so I was doing my monthly check-ins on Zoom, but they weren't doing any in-person stuff. So my stuff just got pushed back and got pushed back, got pushed back. By the time I went in for my actual sentencing, because I did a change of plea, I did an open plea to the judge on all my charges. And he had told me when he offered me the opportunity to go to treatment, he said, you go to treatment and you finish, we'll figure this out. If you don't finish or if you don't go, you're not going to have a friend on this bench ever again. And I'm going to make sure that we bury you. So by the time I went back, I was a certified recovery coach, a peer support recovery specialist, smart
Wow.
recovery facilitator.
Congrats.
I worked at the treatment center he asked me to go to, or that he wanted me to go to. I had graduated there. I graduated the outpatient that I was going to because I stayed doing inpatient and outpatient at the same time. And I was working part-time at the outpatient treatment center. And my attorney wheeled out a TV and played all these news clips. And he was like, DeLay, what are we going to do with you? And I said, well, I earned prison. I earned going to prison 100%. You see the damage that I did to this community. I'm here to take accountability for every bit of it. You know, this isn't like a one-off. This wasn't like y'all got me on a bad day. You see, I was a career criminal. That's how I am when I'm using. But you've also seen what I do when I'm in recovery. You see what I bring to the community when I'm doing well. What I'd like to see is for you to give me house arrest so that I could continue to do the work in the community and I could continue to build the life that I have. And he said, look, if I give you prison today, I'll give you 2 years and then you'll be out and you won't have no paper. He said, or I'll give you house arrest for 2 years, 2 years probation afterwards.
We'll take house arrest.
Yeah. He said, but I see you in my courtroom again, I'm going to bury you. He said, mark me as a man of my word. I'm going to bury you. I said, thank you, Your Honor. I'll take that and I'll respect the opportunity that you've given me. This is grace beyond what I deserve. And I'm going to pay it forward. So I did 2 years house arrest and I never broke routine. I was never out of bounds. I did exactly what I was supposed to do. While I was on house arrest, I got married to the most amazing woman that I've ever met in my life. She's so supportive. She's my best friend. She's my partner in everything. I started my own business for recovery coaching. I've done so much while I was on house arrest, and I was even able to go to the gym. I asked her, I said, I need to be able to go to the gym for my mental health and my recovery. That's part of my recovery. And she said, yeah, I can't clear that unless you get a doctor's note. So I made the appointment. He checked me out. He wrote me the note. I took it to her. She's like, okay, I see what you did here. She said, I'll give you 6 days a week. I'm like, sold. I'll take it. So, I could still go to the gym 6 days a week.
6 days. I need a day to heal.
Yeah, absolutely. Always need a rest day, brother.
Are you comfortable talking about your son?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You had mentioned prior to us recording that you had, I think, every parent's worst nightmare come true, and you didn't relapse. Let's go back to that day, and you just run down where you were and how you got the news and what took place.
So it was December 28th. I was here at the house. I was still on house arrest. It was a few days after Christmas. I had FaceTimed with him on Christmas. We were celebrating.
How old is your son at this time?
23 years old.
Okay.
We were celebrating because he was doing so amazing in life. He had moved from Florida back to Oregon because he wanted to go to this barber college because he got a fire lit under his ass about going to barber college. And so he had just graduated barber college and he got a job at the coolest hair studio in Eugene, Oregon. And we were talking. I was so proud of him. I let him know how proud of him I was. I let him know that, the way he had achieved his goals and dreams was an inspiration to me. And he said, same, man, same. He's like, we're both killing it. We're doing the best we've ever done in our lives. And I said, I know that's right, bro. And fast forward 3 days later, I get a call from my mom and she's in a panic.
Life. Jay Williams, let's live life. Jay Williams, let's live life. Jay